We are your hosts, NixMyth.
And Kylie Jo Smith. And today's episode is called, I'm Just Saying.
And Other Symptoms of a Cynical Heart. Now, before we get started, stop what you're doing because we're about to ruin it.
We've already done that.
We've already ruined it.
You can't repeat it.
But that's like the
then
third.
it's really ruined.
Unless you keep doing it and then it's a thing. So it's not a thing yet. Anyway, stop what you're doing. Share this. Social media. Text it to somebody, write down the email address or the website on a sticky note and mail it to someone.
Put the URL in a letter.
Yeah, you could do that. Handwritten URLs.
And pigeon delivered.
You could clip it to a mouse that you have trained to
send
deliver.
Him out into the world.
And share it with somebody. Just let somebody know about our podcast. We really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Also, this is the last week for the Facebook giveaway.
It's the last one. It feels like April kind of flew by. I know I'm weird for saying that. Everybody's like, what?
April took so long. No, April flew by.
It felt like it just turned April. Turned April? Does it turn months?
Yes, it turns.
Just became April.
It blossomed into April. Well, April is over now. Yeah. And so this is your last Sunday in April. Mm-hmm. But our drawing, we're going to be doing a live drawing on Facebook and YouTube on our pages and also on Periscope. On the NixMyth.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a podcast, or not a podcast. We have a podcast.
We have a channel.
We have a channel through Twitter. And so if you're following on any of those, you can tune into our live giveaway, which is going to be April 30th at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yes. And we just want to throw out there that if you see something like if you don't win, because let's just be honest, there's going to be a few folks that don't win.
There's 3 winners. There will be 3 winners.
Yes. And so if you are not selected from the drawing and you would still like to have one of the things that is going to be won, you can go onto our website. You'll be able to purchase it for yourself. We actually have some really cool new, like, I guess, trendy. It's not really trendy. I don't want to call face masks trendy. It's not really a thing, but I guess they're relevant. They're culturally relevant. And we actually we're going to be able to offer those as well. So
we're also going to have some tumblers available.
We have this lovely thing here.
This coffee cup here. If you're not watching on YouTube, then go to YouTube and check out the coffee cup.
It's a really cool coffee cup.
It says Real Life No Myth. So if you don't know how to enter, then you haven't been following our Facebook. All you have to do is share an episode and tag us in it.
Yes.
So it can be an audio episode or a video episode, but you have to tag the NixMyth podcast in it. And for every episode you share that we are tagged in, it will get you an entry.
Yeah.
And so
there's no limit to how many times you can enter.
I already did that too.
We did.
I just like gimmicks. They're fun. They're fun to do. So yes, you have until April 30th at 8 a.m. I'm going to start tabulating things by 8 a.m. so that we can be ready.
Morning coffee time.
That's right. I'm going to be sitting down with my cup of Joe.
Morning coffee time.
That's right. And it's a race trying to get to me before my coffee. So get in there and enter, share the episodes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. Getting into our discussion a little bit, this was something that came up when we were talking about this. Do you remember, and this is for the listeners as well as you, Nick.
I'm listening.
Do you remember in elementary school when your teacher brought out a picture and they were like, what is this a picture of?
What would it be a picture of?
Well, it depended on what you saw. And so,
gotcha.
it was one of those, it was an optical illusion is what they're called. But they're actually, what?
That was just good. It's what they're called.
It's what they're called, optical illusion.
If you're in the business, that's kind of what we call them.
This is real life. It's what they're called. And so like you could see there was one that's like a duck or a rabbit, depending on what you see. There's the one that's either an old woman or a young woman.
Or the face and the vases. Or the vase and the faces.
Yes, phase and the vases.
That's the vase and the faces. Yes.
So there's different ones that people recognize, but they actually have connected some of that to how your brain works.
Yeah.
So it's negative space that your brain is perceiving and it's putting a picture together. And so they've been able to say like, okay, if you see this, you may be more right-brained or left-brained. You may be more inclined to look at the world this way. And I always thought those were so cool because sometimes I would look at it and be like, I don't see anything. Like, what does that mean? Do I have some kind of weird brain? Which actually that does mean something too. For some of those pictures, it can mean like.
Have you seen the ones on the internet that it's like it'll be like a box spinning or like there'll be colors or there's even the ones where they say, okay, think of a room or think of a shape. And it's like, if you thought of an orange square, that means this. If you thought, and so there's all these different ones
like psychological evaluation,
like
kind
personality develop, or like
so weird.
It's crazy how the stuff works.
It's witchcraft.
Or, do you remember those ones that you stare at until the picture popped out?
Yes.
What were those called?
I don't remember, but my grandma had them so much. Like as a little kid, I remember we had those around the house.
Did you ever lie and be like, "Oh yeah, I see it," and everybody can see it, but you couldn't? I used to do that all the time.
Yeah, when I was little, I'm
Lord
sure
forgive
I did.
me. There would be all those times people were like, "Oh, it's a dolphin." I'm like, "Yeah, I see a dolphin."
Yeah, because
too.
it almost looked like 3D when you looked at it enough. You'd be like, "Oh, you can see them." My grandma had one that was wolves howling at the moon. And then she had another one that was, I think it was just a night sky with a moon and a teepee or something in the background.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember looking at those books, and I would get like every fourth or fifth one. I'd be like, I think I can see it. And I'd have to cross my eyes and then put it right to my nose and then back away.
You almost do. You almost have to like distort your vision a little bit to see them.
So somebody right now is listening to this and they know exactly what it's called, and they're yelling it at.
It's called this. If you know what it's called, comment or send us a message.
Text me. Let me know what it's called, because I'm probably gonna Google it after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it talks about like those optical illusions help us to understand how we actually see things.
Yeah.
And how our brain functions to pick up on different patterns in the world. And that saying, I'm just saying. When we were having our conversation, it came up because that's one of those things that is kind of a trigger. It's kind of a sign of someone who is not just saying. First off,
you're not just saying.
You're saying something because you're trying to be negative.
Yeah.
But it lets you know that the person you're talking to is kind of viewing the world in a negative light.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been that person where you're always just saying, and whatever you're just saying is not helpful, then you're not just saying. What you're doing is you're letting people see that the way you view the world is negative.
Yeah. You're focusing on the negative space.
Yeah. You're focusing on things that don't even matter. But that, I'm just saying, it's not always offering negative information. And one thing that I've noticed is that it's not just people being like, I just want to ruin other people's day. It's normally people
there are people like that.
There definitely are. But normally, in my understanding, it's people who are in a bad space, and that old saying, misery loves company.
Come on.
And so they're just saying because they don't want anyone else to be happy because they're not happy.
Yeah.
And so they're living this miserable place, and they want to comment because it only comes up if you don't know what I'm talking about, or you're blanking right now and you can't picture this scenario. It's like, imagine you telling someone like, oh man, we saved up for years so that we can go to Disney World. So I was like, well, it's probably going to be closed anyway. Like, why would you say that? Well, I'm just saying.
Just the truth.
Yeah,
or even anything, relevant stuff right now, anything pertaining to the virus that shall but not be named. Like anything to do with that, or anything to do with the current administration, it becomes this like saying this like almost vitriolic thing.
Yeah.
And then, well, I'm just saying it's the truth.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying it's on their Twitter. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that may be true.
It may be.
And a lot of times, my experience with situations like that, the person's not saying something that's untrue.
Not always.
It's like, okay, maybe you're emphasizing something or exaggerating something a little bit. You're skewing it just so that it's a little bit heavier than it needs to be. But it's true, but it's not helpful.
Yeah,
and what's that thing
true,
before
but
you
useless.
speak?
Yeah.
Think. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspirational? Is it
nice?
No, it's not nice.
Yeah, necessary.
Necessary, and is it kind?
Kind. That's right. Nice and kind would be kind of redundant. Is it nice?
Is it nice?
Kind?
But is it kind?
But also
if it's nice, it might not be kind.
There's also other times where people are just saying because they're trying to take away from the positive moment.
Ooh, yeah.
And I've had family members, I've had friends that are like this when you're like, oh man, this cool thing just happened. Yeah, it probably won't last. Why? Well, I'm just saying.
I have been there.
Or
I have been that person.
You've been that person?
Yes.
It's so telling of who you are. It has nothing to do with the information you're putting out there, but what it does is it lets everyone around you know that you are dealing with a cynical heart.
Yeah. So, and just going into this, like even the title, what we have, like or the subtitle, symptoms of a cynical heart. Like we have so many things that we trust that have such little weight in actually diagnosing us. Like I was just thinking about how often we run to Google. Love Google. Google is awesome. It has transformed the way that we process and receive information. However, we will go to Google with a list of symptoms and trust the cancer diagnosis that always comes up because it's always cancer or it's a
doesn't
cold.
matter.
It doesn't
you
matter
stub
what
your
it
toe,
is.
It's cancer.
It could also, in some cases, this does become cancer. But yet, when
Thanks, Google.
Thank you. But yet, when we look at the heart, the human soul, the way that we interact with relationships and with our God, like we don't consider the symptoms that are given to us. We're like, oh no, there's no way. Like, no, I'm telling you, if these are the things you're dealing with, this is what it's a symptom of.
You have a cynical heart. And
you have a cynical heart.
I looked up cynical just to share. So if anyone's out there and you think
on
you know
Google,
I did. I gave it a Google. But here's what the old dictionary says, Merriam-Webster's. One, believing that people are motivated by self-interest, distrustful of human sincerity or integrity. That's not specifically what we're talking about. The second definition is more what we're speaking of. Concerned only with one's own interest and typically disregarding accepted or appropriate standards in order to achieve them.
Wow.
So it's like you don't care about other people. You're only focused on you and whatever you have to do to make yourself feel better, whatever you have to do to boost yourself up, you're going to do that.
So the first definition is usually what we think of when we think of cynicism, of like a low view of humanity, of like people are always out to get you. They're going to take advantage of you, blah, blah, blah. It's terrible out there.
Yeah.
As the sky is falling.
Yeah.
But that second one is harder to identify.
Yeah.
You almost need a specialist's perspective on those symptoms because it's like, but cynicism we don't think of as being so closely tied to self-focus and self-centeredness.
But it so much is. So much of being cynical of other people is because there's something in you that you're so focused on. There's something about who I am that I don't like or that I'm unhappy with, that anything around me I need to distort or twist in order to fit my worldview.
Yeah.
Because a lot of cynical people that I know, and those moments when I find myself being cynical, it's normally because the way the world is working right now doesn't line up with my negative attitude.
Yep.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack or manipulate, or I'm going to mock and jeer. I'm going to do whatever I need to do in order to paint the room the way that it needs to be, so that the outside, what I'm experiencing is reflected also by what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And so it's very self-centered. It's very me focused.
Yeah. So it makes me think of our son a little bit. Of course, I don't think he's being cynical, but there have been so many times where he will tell us something his sister is doing. Well, she's lying, or she's being mean to me. She is forcing me. When she's 3, first of all, and
Straight
she's going to be doing whatever the 3-year-old is thinking of doing
Straight
in that moment.
teenager all the way through.
Because Isaiah has an intent to, and he has a focus, and he has, this is what's happening, this is what I want. He has a sense of control. When someone else tries to come in and shatter that, instead of understanding that, well, I don't really have control over this situation, as no 6-year-old would,
right?
Consciously understand that. Instead, it becomes, they're doing this.
Yeah.
This other person is now an issue in my life, and this other, it's them.
That's right.
It's the other, and that's. I mean, I know my own tendency to do that. It's like, I have a plan. And then if someone interrupts that, if someone gets in the way of my ambition, even that like selfish ambition, suddenly it's not, oh, well, I need to back off. I need to reevaluate my priorities. It's, you need to get out of my way.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're in the way tells me you're trying to take advantage of me, and you're trying to stop me from getting what I want. And that is a narrative that I believe is sown in a lot of our generation.
Yeah, it's a very warped mind, and it's a very me-centered. But that, I'm just saying, is only one of the signs of a cynical heart.
Yeah, so if you find yourself in that place, like we've described,
where you're just saying all the time.
I'm just saying.
Don't be just saying.
If you get that look from people, you know the look people give you when you're about to say that. It's like, it's the Karen. It's the Karen. It's the look we give Karen. If
that unnerved Tom, from Tom and Jerry, was like what are you saying? What are you doing right now?
If you receive that look and you know on the tip of your tongue, you have it prepped and ready. I'm just saying, that's you. That's a symptom.
Just don't just say.
Don't just say.
Normally you're offering negative information or true but useless information or unnecessary critique. If you're just saying unnecessary critique. What's another sign of a cynical heart, my love?
This is one of my favorite ones, only because I know it all too well. Must be nice.
Oh, come on now.
Must be nice.
Oh, must be nice.
Must be nice.
When you say that, when someone says it must be nice, they don't really mean it must be nice.
They're not complimenting you.
It's not a compliment.
Just so you know. If you're one of those people that doesn't pick up on that,
they're
like, they always think things in my life are so nice. No, they really don't.
No.
They really do not.
No.
So this comes from a heart that, well, one is entitled.
Mm-hmm.
And so it must be nice, or there's other ways you can say it. We don't all have that.
Oh yeah.
We don't all get to have that.
Well, not everybody
gets to have the silver spoon.
Not everybody can.
Not everyone can live like that. And so what this is, it's a comparison mindset.
Yeah.
Where, and it comes from that conversation where, oh gosh, I just got a promotion at work and I've been working really hard for it. And, my boss recognized me in front of all my coworkers and I'm just so excited.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who's been working the job tirelessly for years and years, who feels that they deserve a promotion, even if it's not the same job.
Yeah.
It can be a completely different career field.
Straight up.
But seeing you succeed, seeing another person succeed,
yes.
where I feel that I deserve the advancement and the recognition and the promotion, must be nice.
Must be. You know where I see this in our culture right now?
No.
In the immigration argument. I see this in the immigration argument.
Go into
because what I've seen is people, because again, has nothing to do with anything that I actually want or desire.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me not interested in seeing other people
succeed,
get something that I don't think they should have.
Ooh.
Whether or not they deserve it, they work for it, whatever. It's this idea of, well, it must be nice to just, sneak across the border and get a free job. Must be nice to steal all our jobs. Must be nice.
Must be nice to be on welfare and not have to pay.
Must be
for all
nice
that.
to no. What that comes from is a lack of compassion, a lack of empathy. It comes from comparison. It comes from entitlement.
Yeah.
It comes from a God complex of like, I get to discern and decide what is good and bad.
Who gets what?
And if you're getting something that I don't think you deserve, then I'm gonna hit you with that. Must be nice.
Yeah. In other words, I don't think you deserve that.
Yeah. Must be nice to just get whatever you want whenever you want it, and not have to work. And it's also this again, it's a me focus. It's focusing on my life is so terrible. My opinion matters more than yours. My struggle matters more than yours. My story is more important than anyone else's.
Wow.
And if anything goes against my narrative, then I'm going to it must be nice. And what it comes down to is a person who has this must be nice mindset. They don't believe that, one, God is good to them. They don't believe that God has their best interest in mind. And they also don't believe in what Scripture tells us, that we're supposed to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you've got that mindset of, well, it must be nice to just get everything you want. Must be nice. It's always that grass is greener on the other side. Like, why are you evaluating their life based on your struggle?
Yeah.
Like, their life
or
has
vice
nothing,
versa.
Yeah. Their life has nothing to do with, you can rejoice with people. Even if, especially when it has nothing to do with you.
Sometimes that's better.
Yeah, if somebody gets a promotion at your job, instead of being, must be nice to be,
Must be nice to be related to the boss.
Must be nice to be teacher's pet. Must be not. No, just, hey, that's congratulations. Because you know what? Hating on somebody else doesn't do anything to make your situation better.
No, it will never give you what you want. Like, we have this false sense of, well, what is it? If I make fun of them enough, if I criticize it enough, suddenly the universe is going to shift. And
people are going to see how unfair it is just because I said it's unfair. No, that's not.
And it's also like, it's not believing, like you said, it's not really believing in what God is doing in your life.
That's right.
And one of the things that I have to meditate on is my journey with the Lord is not this other person's journey with the Lord.
That's right.
And their journey with the Lord is not my journey with the Lord.
Yeah.
And it helps me to self-differentiate so that when, if I'm going through something that's really difficult and someone else is going through something that's really easy, I don't then look at that and say, well, God, why did you give me the hard thing? Give them the easy thing. No, there are things that God specifically knows that you need to go through in order to learn the lesson that somebody else may not need to go through that.
That's right.
Their brain, they may perceive they're looking at something, they perceive it the way that they're supposed to perceive it. And you may look at the same thing and you're not seeing it right. So God knows He has to put something else in place to prune out of you and to plant in you what is needed to give Him glory.
That's right. And here's
vice versa.
Here's another thing. When you're going through trials, you can also look at it as training. Not everybody gets the same training because not everybody has the same job. Not everybody goes through the same struggle because not everybody has the same mission. And so if you're looking at someone else's life and you're like, well, man, I wish it must be nice to just, like I said, have the easy road. Well, maybe they have the road they have to minister to the people that God's called them to minister to.
Yeah.
And your broken road is so that you can minister to broken people. And God's not going to put you in the same sphere.
Yeah.
And so you can't have the same road.
Yeah.
And so having that must be nice attitude, it's self-defeating. And again, it's just another sign. It's not you actually commenting on the situation.
Yeah.
It's you telling them that you have a negative spirit, that you're focusing on self and you're focusing on how terrible everything in your life is. And you're not actually looking at what God is truly doing.
Yeah. And you're displeased. It's a sign of being displeased with what God has given you because, just taking it back, Old Testament school.
Kicking it Old Testament style.
Coveting is one of the, it's so, what's the word? It's it slithers in. It really does.
Yeah, insidious.
Yeah. It's so you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
And coveting is wanting something that's not yours. It's not meant to be yours.
Lusting after someone else's stuff.
Yeah. And you may not think that, well, I'm not lusting. That's not what I'm doing. But really, when you're upset that someone has gotten something that you don't have, why are you upset? It's because you want it.
Exactly.
That's exactly what coveting is.
And even if it's not the specific thing, you want the status that comes with it.
Yes, you want the feeling that you think they're getting from it.
They got something new. I want something new. I want everybody to look at me and tell me I'm great.
Yeah, and another area that I've seen this in is with marriage.
Ooh,
and I've actually said to unmarried people and married people alike who have come to us and said, well, you don't, in so many words, it must be nice to have a husband who fill in the blank. It must be nice to be able to have a marriage where, and I've said, you don't know the things that have been sown.
Amen.
You have not watched. There are some plants that once put in the ground, they really, they're so, they require such depth of roots before you even see anything above ground. Right. And people don't realize the roots that have been placed in your marriage and your relationships. And so when they're saying that for someone on the other side of that statement to understand okay, you're not seeing what has been gone through.
Yeah.
I have so many friends that their marriages are beautiful because of the frustration and the anger and sleepless nights and questioning and doubt, all those things that have been wrapped up into the marriage to bring about the fruit that is needed to minister.
Yeah.
But other people looking on will say, well, it must be nice.
Yeah,
must be so nice to be able to have this. And it's you just don't get it.
You don't understand. Well, and let's go to this next one. Sarcasm.
Sarcasm is anger's evil cousin.
Y'all, listen, I know we live in a sarcastic culture. And I use sarcasm jokingly from time to time.
You do?
No, really? Right? But the truth is, we as Christians, we have to watch our sarcasm.
Yeah, it's ugly.
Jesus was never sarcastic, first off.
No, he was funny.
Yeah, he dropped some jewels on some people.
Yeah, he clowned some folks.
But it wasn't to be mean. It was to expose the truth. And what happens when we're being sarcastic is we're letting, and again, I'm talking about habitual sarcasm.
Yeah.
Not just every now and again I can throw a sarcastic jab out and it's funny.
Yeah.
But when sarcasm is your deflection, when sarcasm is how you relate to everyone, when you can't have a real conversation because it always has to go back to something sarcastic, what you're doing is you're letting the world know that there's some sourness, there's some bitterness in your heart. It's another sign that your heart is cynical.
We call it being salty nowadays.
Yeah, you're and
salty.
We like to joke oh man, they're big mad. Look at them over there. But the truth is, there's brokenness in there.
Yeah,
that is an outward sign of an inward broken condition. And what is sarcasm? Sarcasm is making fun of other people. Turning everything around so that you're the one that's the victim of the situation.
Or you're not the aggressor, you are the authority. You're the one in control of the conversation because, now I said it.
Yeah. And you're always commenting. Anytime someone says something, oh yeah, well, oh yeah, well, oh yeah, well, okay, I get it. Yeah. I get it. You want to be seen, you want to be heard, and you're broken. I understand.
Me too.
You don't have to be negative all the time, but it really does. It shows us this broken, angry person. My mom always used to say that, and it wasn't just her saying, it's a common saying, a drunk tongue speaks a sober mind.
True.
Sarcasm is very much the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You will see and hear people say very sarcastic things. They're like, "Oh, I'm just joking. I'm just playing." No, you weren't.
No.
I see you.
Every
You
joke
weren't
has a
playing.
little bit of truth in it.
Yeah, you were judging to see my reaction. And now that you see that bothers me, now you can back off and be like, "Oh, well, I was just playing anyway."
There's one that actually is just the most recent one I'm thinking of. It's very sarcastic. It was very, very wrong humor. But it's the one, it was the girl and her boyfriend on Twitter or whatever, or TikTok, with the video about black people.
Yeah, the racist.
And she's like pouring the water. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's bad.
And
if you don't
she's
know what
going
it
through,
is,
and it's sarcasm. That, if you don't know what sarcasm is and how far it reaches and what, like,
how
culturally it is, that is sarcasm at work. And it was funny to them.
Yeah,
and in the moment they felt it was funny, and now we kind of see the result of that. But that's just another example of practical, I guess, practical sarcasm.
Practical sarcasm. Well, there was. I want you to say the thing. There was a quote you had. Okay, I want you to share, and then we need to get into practical.
Yes, Jenny Allen, in her book "Get Out of Your Head," which is a wonderful book that everyone needs to read. It's so good. Get Out of Your Head. She has a section called "The Bitter Taste of Cynicism," and she goes into it. She says that, I'm going to find it here. A cynic is someone who shows a disposition to disbelieve in the sincerity or goodness of human motives and actions. And then she goes on and says, cynicism erodes our ability to see God rightly. Cynicism at its root is a refusal to believe that God is in control and God is good. Cynicism is interpreting the world and God based on hurt you've experienced and the wounds that still lie gaping open. It forces you to look horizontally at people rather than vertically to God.
Go ahead, Jenny Allen.
So, it's so good. And she talks about actually one of the, the results of cynicism is sarcasm. She actually literally says it, being sarcastic and cold and critical of people. These are all, these are symptoms that she is giving us.
Well, it must be nice. She knows all this stuff. Must be nice
to have written a book, Jenny Allen. Just kidding. It's an awesome book.
And it is nice that she wrote that, because it's such a blessing for us. But let's go into some practical steps.
Yes.
First, I just want to give some scripture, y'all. First, Romans 8:28. For all things
work. That's a good one.
For the good of those who love God and called according to his purpose. If you can actually own that and believe that God is working all things out for your good and his glory, it helps you to stop looking at other people and being like, well, it must be nice that they're going through this. No, what you're going through, God is using. And he's using to create in you something that you need to be more like Jesus.
Yeah, that's good. So practically.
Yeah.
And we normally don't just do this, don't do this, but stop offering information.
Cut it out. Hush your mouth sometimes. You know what I mean?
And instead offer your compassion. This would probably look most practically like asking yourself the question, self.
That's what I call myself when I talk to myself. I say self.
How would I feel if that happened to me? Or before you say it, how would I feel if someone said this to me?
Yeah.
If this person that I'm about to say these words to were to say that to me, what would my reaction be?
If I was in that position.
If I was in that position. It's actually, we were just talking about this the other day. Doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's one of the basic things that most everyone morally understands. And so if you were in that person's shoes, would you want them to say those words to you as well? It's very simple to ask that question of yourself. And if the answer is yes, then fly off with it.
Well, and here, going off of that, if you're mean, just be mean. I'd rather someone be mean and be real than try to hide their cynicism and their anger and their hatred under a guise of sarcasm and fake friendliness. So listen, if you're sarcastic all the time because at heart you're really mean, stop pretending. Because when you stop pretending, then you can allow God to work on the core issue, is that I'm just a miserable person.
And we can respect a person more for saying, you know what, I'm just really in a negative place right now.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. Say what you mean. Instead of
say what you need to say.
Come on, John Mayer. But instead of trying to be like, well, I want people to like me, but I also want to let everybody know that they're less than me. No, just be like, listen, I'm kind of a big jerk, and so I'm going to be a jerk to everybody. Yeah. Then you could at least be like, oh, hey, there's a jerk. So there's that.
And so there's so many practical things we could give. Like, don't focus on your own paper. Yeah. Not don't focus on your paper. Focus on your own paper.
Make sure you do that.
What God is doing in your life is what he's doing in your life.
Your life.
He's doing it
homie,
for you.
For you.
He's not doing it for someone else.
Come on.
And if he is, you don't even need to know about it. Focus on your own paper.
That's right.
Appreciate the good that God has given you. One of the most practical things you can do just for any area of your life is to make a list of all the ways that God has come through in your life.
We do it with our kids every night.
Yes.
What are you thankful for?
Yes. What was your favorite part of today?
Yeah. Refocus. And there's psychology that says the thing that you look for is what you're going to see. So if we've hit a nerve and these are things that you're like, well, I'm not cynical. I'm just saying
you are.
You're cynical.
Then you are.
But what you need to do is identify and allow God to work on that. And one of the ways you can do that is to start focusing on the good in your life and stop whenever your mind starts to go negative. Ephesians 4:29 says, no, not Ephesians 4:29. Sorry, Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think of these things.
Yeah.
Not anything of mocking, not anything of frustration, not anything. No, if there's good stuff, think about those.
Yeah.
Because that's going to help you to not be so negative.
Yeah. I mean, and the reality is, like, in all of the stuff that these symptoms that we're showing about a cynical heart, there's an element of truth.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of everything that's like, okay, yes, you're sharing truth. Sarcasm, there's some truth to it. And even with it must be nice, there's truth in there. But the issue is that we allow the enemy's lie to distort that truth so that our vision of what God is doing is then skewed. And you talked about putting too much confidence in the flesh to be able to see things clearly. Just the being able to see clearly, it starts with what we focus on.
Yes.
And that is a conscious choice. And then we're not getting new agey psychology with that.
No.
Jesus talked about that.
All truth is God's truth.
Yes.
So.
And so we need to understand what we put in our minds and what we focus on, that will determine how we see things. And so put things in front of you in your, put those blinders on. Okay, this is what I need to see.
Yeah.
Even if it's only one thing today.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah. And then the last one is also very practical. It's not just by what you believe, but by what you do that you show what you believe, right?
Yeah.
So if you believe God is good, if you believe all these things, then it should start to be reflected in your action. So Ephesians 4:29, this is what I was trying to get to. Don't let any unwholesome talk, one of the translations says evil talk or hateful talk, come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their need, not your need, according to their need, that it may benefit those who listen. So this is how people understand us as believers. If we're not always turning the conversation back around on what we want, what we need, making jokes at other people so we feel better, this is how you demonstrate your love for other people, is by only saying things that help other people, that build them up, and not under the guise, I see you. I know you're making the excuse right now because I've made it before. Well, I'm telling them what they need to hear. Because they need to get their act together. What builds them up and benefits those, or one translation says, gives grace to the hearer.
Yeah, grace is unmerited favor. So even if you don't think they deserve to hear a compliment from you,
especially if you don't think they deserve
you don't think they deserve to have your compassion, you don't think they deserve to hear you congratulate them, that means you need to do it.
Get on it and sacrifice a little bit. You got to die to flesh, y'all.
Jesus did it.
Right? Must be nice to be. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
That was a joke.
Wow.
That was a joke. Hit him with, because it wasn't. I'm not trying to get on that cross. I couldn't do it. Y'all, we hope that something that we said today pointed you a little closer back to Christ.
Yeah.
That helped you to examine who and whose you are.
Yes.
Because God loves you. And he doesn't want you living in cynicism. He doesn't want you living with a cynical heart. And yes, your hurt is real. Validate. I'm validating right now the brokenness that you're feeling, whatever you went through in your life that got you to this bitter place. All those hurts were real, but you don't have to let them win.
Yeah.
Give them over to the Lord and allow him to work on that cynical, broken heart.
Yes.
We love you. God loves you.
Yes. This has been the NixMyth podcast. We hope you've gotten a dose of love and real life.
No myth.
Be blessed.